Hello again, YouTube. This is The Truth Man. We're going to do the Sunday sermon. We're going to do a mini sermon today, and that's going to be pretty much it. I'm going to show y'all something. And I want to use Coach Prime Deion Sanders as an example of what I'm going to be talking about on today. So, you guys see how he's doing these things, right? He's doing these things, him along with his team, by faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This is the King James Version, which some of y'all think that's the only version you can learn from, and you can use it. But that's what it says in the King James about faith. So, on this mini sermon, I want to talk to y'all about the devil and how, and the two sermons are going to connect like dots, like y'all know how I like to do. So, the way that we defeat the devil is through faith and obedience. They got to intertwine. Because if you have faith without obedience, yeah, you can accomplish some earthly things. But if you have faith with obedience and with the kind of love that the Most High wants you to make the effort to have towards Him, which is the greatest command of them all. Y'all talking about pork and all this other stuff, not playing lotteries. Y'all inventing y'all own righteousness. But the greatest thing that we can do, and y'all wonder why as believers sometimes we be in situations, that be the Most High, as the King of the universe, way of saying, all right, impress me. You know how they try to entertain the King? I'm not saying that He puts us in situations just for His own amusement. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, there's a very real conflict going on in the spiritual realm for the souls of men. And what the devil does is the devil wants you to be upset with the Most High and turn against Him ultimately. That's why things gonna change in the world that's gonna challenge our faith in the future. Like, we don't know exactly when all of it's gonna unfold. It might, I believe, me personally, it's going to unfold in our time. But we don't know that for sure. That's why the Bible tells you to be ready at all times. Like, I don't listen to people. Well, I listen to people, but I don't rely on people in their talk. And I'm going to show you why. Because these dudes be talking like they so spiritual, but then they'll marry another man's wife. She'll divorce her husband and get divorced, and these guys talking about they know God so much, but they don't know enough to know who to marry. You know, it's a lot of reasons why, like, I'll listen to people. I'm not beyond correction and beyond learning, but at the same time, I'm listening to you. I'm looking at how you do things. And you should look at how I do things and know what's supposed to be done. See, what people do, they try to judge you based on their own understanding, which is sometimes flawed. What I do is if I'm watching somebody, I'm gonna find out from the Most High, and I'm gonna do research as to what should I think. See, we should never stop studying the Bible. Some people have learned beyond the Bible and they stop studying it. I learned beyond the Bible, but I still read it. I read it on these Sunday sermons. I read it on different times, different days and stuff like that. Because the scripture is power. It is. You can't take away the power of the scripture, no matter what you learn. No matter what you learn that the Catholics did, or this person did, or that person did. You still can't take away from the power of the scripture, especially if you know where the power is. So it's our faith that defeats the devil. When you slap the devil with faith, the devil is going to look for a reason to accuse you. It's harder for the devil to accuse people like me because I've already researched the things that are sin, the things that men call sin that are not, and the things that might be wrong, but that's not the stuff that's going to ultimately keep you out of the kingdom. See, it's a whole bunch of levels to this, and that's what people don't understand. And that's why you got to be careful when you listening to preaching. When you listening to preaching, you got to make sure that you know at least a little something, and that your little something turns into a big something. Because if you don't know what the truth is, then you're going to rely on outward appearance, and you're going to be deceived by guys bragging on themselves. It's happening on YouTube. It's happening on all these social media platforms, and it's happening in many churches, in many different places. People don't study enough. They don't research enough. So they start relying on what a person has and stuff like that to try to figure out whether or not they should listen to them. Do you realize that you can learn just as much, if not more, from a person who has failed and understands their failures than you can from a person who's in success? Both have failed, obviously. Everybody fails, man. But what turns your life is how you handle your failures. Do you become bitter when you fail? If you prayed to the Most High and He didn't answer your prayer, do you still pray to Him? Because understanding says maybe it's a reason why He didn't do that right there. See, let me tell you something that I learned about the Most High. If you're in a different place than He wants you to be, then He's not going to give you everything that you want in the wrong place. Because if you have everything you want in the wrong place, then you ain't going to move. You're going to become too comfortable. Let's say you're a preacher and He wants you to take the gospel to a place that is not the most popular place. It's not the place where everybody moves. Say He wants you to take the gospel to like Kansas or West Virginia or New Mexico. If you still in your current city and He wants you to go to a different city and start a business or do the gospel work of the kingdom, and I ain't talking about with bullhorns being out there trying to force people. I'm talking about in the future I'm going to show y'all the proper way to go towards people, to come at people. I'm going to do a whole series on it. What I learned from the Most High as His prophet. So, but if He wants you to go somewhere and do something, and you too comfortable where you at, you ain't going to leave. If everybody like you, you still friends with all these people from kindergarten up that the Most High ain't taking along on your ride, He gonna make you a little uncomfortable. He might let the devil put notions in their head that distance themselves from you. And then He'll come to you and show you that they distance themselves from you. And then you're gonna be like, you know what, why am I here? See, that's why stuff like that happens. Everything that happened to us is not for bad reason. That's what we gotta understand. That's what we gotta realize. And like for instance, here's what I done start doing. Like I done start doing this recently Because as you grow in wisdom, you start learning what to do in situations. So if I have a dilemma, like where I can't do nothing, or it appears that way, what I do, I go home and I'll get on the couch and I'll, sometimes you can't sleep, but then I'll just sit there or lay there in deep thought, and then the solution will come to me. Case in point, right? I needed a very expensive repair on my car. Very expensive. It happened multiple times. On this car I'm in, and on the other car. Let me show you what I did with the other car. So, I'm laying there like, I don't trust them. I don't believe them. They told me my car needed an engine. I'm laying there, something telling me I don't trust them. I don't believe them. So the solution came to me. There's mechanics in Craigslist that'll fix that car for cheap. I went on Craigslist, found a mechanic. I've been dealing with him ever since. Good mechanic, good guy. I don't expect people to be perfect. I'm not perfect. What I go by is their intentions and the vibe that I get from him. Like, he's very respectable towards God. Like, you know how some people won't talk about the Most High, or some people will be like, kind of get mad when you bring him up. Not this guy. This guy, he gives the Most High credit for everything in his life. He said he had a stroke, went back to normal, stuff like that. So that's the first time. Second time, this car, I got this, I'm like, everybody telling me, even in the house, don't put no money in that car. That car needs too much work. I'm knowing that it's not true. So I'm sitting there. I said, you know what? I'm going to do this and this to this car. I called the same mechanic. He found out one of the problems I was having within seconds. So we did something about that. We did a couple other things, back running. So then, this car needed, because this is a 2008. It needed something else. Extremely expensive. I'm like, man, what am I gonna do? So I'm just doing what I do, sitting there. Like, call the junkyard for the parts. Because the parts were so expensive that it was gonna put a dent in my pocket to pay the person to put them on. So I went to the junkyard, right? They had the parts I need. We get the parts. We trying to figure out, why is these parts not going on right? We couldn't figure it out. Or no, this is how it went. We got the parts. Or wait, I'm skipping whole parts. Let's go back. So we got some of the parts we needed. And we were trying to put those parts on. But they weren't going on. And we were looking up the parts on Google. And the parts were expensive. So I'm like, man, this is messed up. And I'm thinking about it like, okay, what I do? Just sitting there like I always do. They call the junkyard. The junkyard don't have the parts, right? So I knew that it was telling me call a junkyard. I'm calling all these junkyards. They don't got the parts, but I ain't give up. I finally found one that had the parts for way cheaper. The parts that I needed. So they said, you just got to take it off. So we go over there, we take it off, and we thinking, oh, these ain't fitting right. So we go back to the junkyard. He said, well, I'll give you your money back. If I showed him the receipt. He said, oh no, you got to do this. They got a tool that you got to use. Boy, we both was mad. Like, man, if we could have figured this out the day before, we would have been had it done. But we got it back on the road. And you know, it's just fine. And that's what I learned how to do. I learned how to just sit back, relax, get in deep thought, and let the wisdom of the Most High show you what to do. You say, well, you can't figure it out yourself. Listen, man, that's the mistake you're making. This is what's going to lead you to the mark of the beast. If you try to be independent from God, you're going to end up in hell. I'm telling you now. Yeah, he gives us the power in some stuff, but sometimes we have to consult with him because he knows everything. So you gotta sit back and let him put the solution in you. You know, that's just how it be sometimes. But what the point I want to make in closing this is, if your name is in the book of life, I remember years ago I kind of misunderstood, and I believe the way she was saying it, she wasn't saying it the right way. None of them were. Them TBN preachers. But it's like, now I get it's true what they were saying. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. But it's a way to go about it. You know, and that's, if you belong to God, you are God on earth. You're like a little representative of him. You're not God himself. Don't believe that. That's that new age stuff. But you are like a God. You are a ambassador for him, and therefore you have the same ability to create those solutions and those reliefs and those healings that you need. And that's all I'm gonna say on this one, because we're about to talk about it more anyways. So stay tuned. This is The Truth Man.